I think, as we learn Max and we're around Max, like, he has an infectious energy because of how hard he plays the game. And he has a way of making momentum shifting plays, whether, it's a big three or a big finish at the rim. His teammates love to see it. And I think it's something that, our fans are falling in love with also. And we know, the energy that this building can create. So to have a guy, who can make momentum shifting plays here in this building is going to be big for us.
Darius had a quiet 28, but I mean, it's 28 points, not too quiet. But you see him be able to make the most efficiency out of his shots. How important is it for him to do that, especially when Donovan's out?
I mean, we know how important Darius is to us. He is the leader of this team. The ball is in his hands, and he's got the keys. Not only does he have the ability to create for himself, but there's so much pressure that he puts on the defense, and he can find his teammates as well. But, we need Darius to keep growing. We need him to keep being aggressive, keep leading this team, because we don't go where we want to go without him being at his best.
And last one from me, Craig Porter Jr. was electric off the bench. Can you tell me what you've seen from him from his beginning, and how important was he tonight as well?
I mean, he was awesome. He was good enough where we were able to give Darius some time off, and where he could help us extend the lead. What you've seen from him is a large amount of confidence, no matter who he's playing against, and he has the ability to get into the paint and create shots, and he's got great touch from the mid-range and painted area. But he's deceptive. He's really strategic in his attacking. But I thought he did a wonderful job tonight. And then we were able to play him and Darius together some, which gets Darius off the ball, and then you can make some plays, some screening actions to get him to the ball.
Spencer Davies, Cavs Insider. Most of the damage came, on the inside and at the free throw line tonight, but you did hit some catch-shoot threes. Was that like, okay, finally, like in the first quarter, like when that went down?
Yeah, I mean, we've got guys who can make shots.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we've continued to do a great job of creating for one another. And those shots are going to go. They'll average out. And, once we get our defense, where we want it, and then the ability to make those shots, like, those are going to give us opportunities, to win games. But, we're still work in progress. We're still trying to get better, get to our peak. But, it's going to be something that's gradual for us, and we won't skip steps to get there.
Really strong finish to the first quarter, 19-4 run. Over the last, 4 minutes. What do you feel like was the catalyst to that?
I think it had a lot to do with Craig. I thought Craig did a great job of, stepping in, being attack-minded. There were some huge plays by Max. Like, we let Max run the entire first quarter. And he made some huge plays down the stretch of that quarter. Again, those momentum plays that we're talking about. But we just had guys step up, and they stepped up on both ends of the floor.
Jackson Flickinger right down Euclid. First play of the game was a big pick and roll. Why was a play like that so important to set the tempo?
J.A. loves those plays. So every now and then, with all the stuff that he does for us that goes unsung, we just want to get him involved early. But you got a guy like Evan, who's extremely versatile, who can handle the ball and pass at that size. And big guys aren't used to defending that action. And where we ran it from, gave J.A. an opportunity to get to the paint where he caught it. If he was on balance, I think he would have been able to finish with the lob. But instead, he made a great play. Evan made a great pass, and he was still able to finish it.
Pre-game, you talked about Evan doing other things on offense. What areas of the floor do you really want him operating on?
Everywhere. There's not a place on the floor that we don't want Evan to be aggressive. I love watching Evan Mobley get defensive rebounds and push the ball up the floor. 90% of the time when he does that, something good happens. He's dynamic at the elbow where he can catch and make plays. On the wing, you watch him and Max in that two-man game, and that's a nightmare for defenses. So there's nowhere we don't want Evan to have the ball and be aggressive with it.
Wiley. Coach Wiley Jahari, Spectrum News. Obviously the playoffs, different ball game. Players are putting it all on the line, playing as hard as they can. Do you think in the in-season tournament it'll get to that level or maybe even close?
Yeah, I think guys have to kind of figure out what this is, and I think coaches as well. Like, at the end of a game tonight, you're going back and forth because, point differential matters. But you've got to lead, do you keep your guys on the floor, and then how do you finish the game, right? So there's so many things that are going into it. I think with most things, as things get kind of closer to the end of it, and you'll see guys even continue to ramp up more and more. Early in this play-in or in-season tournament, guys are kind of feeling like, okay, it's one game, it's one loss. Once you get towards 2-3 games and you see where you sit in standings, then I think those things start to ramp up just naturally.
Smith.
George ended up having a pretty solid second quarter there as far as his playmaking and attacking off the dribble, and that's not something you necessarily saw in past stops with him. What do you like about that part about his game to trust him to do that stuff?
He's smart, and the shot is such a weapon for him that people close him out in a way that's going to create an advantage for him to get by him and get into the paint. And then he does a great job of reading defenses. He's got that weird little push shot that he can get to with pretty good touch. But he also can make plays if teams decide they want to step up and take away, his penetration. So we just want our guys to be confident being who they are. We want our guys to be as creative as they possibly can be, staying within, the framework of what they're capable of. But he's capable of, making those plays, so we want him to go ahead and do it.
And then going back to Darius, just real quick, do you know when it's a night when he's got a defender leaning? Because it feels like you can tell when he's going to have an advantage going towards the cup.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, it's most nights. You know what I mean? Like when you're as shifty and skilled as he is, the way the rules are set up when guys can't touch you, there's not many guys who can start as quickly as he can going forward, and they're going backwards. So it's most nights that he's got that advantage. Sometimes he likes to play with his food a little bit, but he can beat just about anybody in the league when he's going downhill.
You mentioned in pregame, James Bridges, 92.3 The Fan. You mentioned in pregame that the number one philosophy is to protect the paint. How do you feel you guys did with that tonight?
I thought we were hit or miss. I think they did a really good job. Cade Cunningham in particular, with his size of getting to the paint and then putting our guys kind of in a hold position and then making plays from there. I thought our big guys did do a good job. Obviously you see Jared had the 5 blocks, but he was challenging and contesting shots. But I think we were okay. When I go back and watch the film a little bit more and then kind of see it as a whole, but I think we can get better.
Last one.
Max Strus and Evan Mobley said that they were going to be best friends this season. You asked Evan to have a more offensive mindset, especially in pregame. But the last 2 games he's shown that. How have you seen that dynamic work, and how would you grade Evan's performance the last 2 games?
I think he's figuring out where his spots are, no matter who's on the floor with him. I think Max has been a huge part of Evan's ability to catch, find the ball in his spots. Max does a great job of creating an advantage and then finding the space to drop the ball to Evan, whether it's a lob or a pocket pass. We talked about Evan's usage going up. And one of the ways that his usage goes up is putting him in the action with a guy like Max or with Max. Again, because it's just hard to read. Max plays at a speed and at a tempo, but he has the ability to make decisions at that tempo, and he and Evan have that same ability. So, we're pleased with Evan, and again, I expect Evan to continue to get better.
Okay, it's going to wrap for Coach.
All right, appreciate y'all. Have a good night.